Today in the studio, folks, I got a real badass and a treat, Peter Meyerhoff. What's cracking?
What's up, my man? How are you?
Dude, for those of you listening, you know, you may not have heard of the dude. You may have. Peter Meyerhoff has a story we're going to dig into. You can follow him at Peter_Meyerhoff. That's Meyerhoff. You can also find his website. You have a website.
Yep.
Where is it?
PeterMeyerhoff.com.
Same thing, PeterMeyerhoff.com. He's got, he's a bit of an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and almost like a success story, a caution tale as well. So, dude, you're 18, you say?
Yes, sir.
And you're living in Phoenix?
Yep.
And how'd you end up in the old prison?
Went to prison for, I stole a Mercedes-Benz from the Mercedes-Benz of Chandler dealership at 18 years old.
And that got you fucking 12 years?
No, so that was my first charge right when I was 18 because the Gone in 60 Seconds movie had came out and they said those cars were unstealable. Being the hard-headed little knucklehead kid I was like, I'm going to go fucking steal one of those Mercedes. So I literally picked out the one I wanted, black with chrome rims, still had the plastic on the seats, and I stole that car, got probation, and then me and 10 kids, spring break, which should have been my senior high school, burglarize a house, no home invasion, non-dangerous burglary charge. And they threw the book at me, and I ended up getting 12 years in prison for a non-dangerous theft charge at 18 years old.
For burglary?
Yep.
Damn.
Theft of controlled property was the actual charge.
Well, they were making an example out of you or something.
They were, and then the judge has been removed because he was too harsh on all his sentences, but they didn't take my sentence back, and I still did the full 12 years. And there's a lot of prison dudes that'll say they did more time than they did. I did a full 12 years. I'm not.
Dude, people have gotten out for murder less than 12 years.
Oh, absolutely. We were talking about that last night at dinner. How many people, like Big Herc from Fresh Out Series, did 8 years for literally armed bank robberies.
8 years?
Yeah.
Now, see, that's heavy duty.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a bank robber, dude,
that's full-on armed robbery, bank robberies, like in the movies, and he got 8 years, and I got 12 years for burglarizing a house.
Now, people are going to say, well, Brad, burglary, you're condoning it. I'm not condoning it. I don't think you should burglarize anybody's house.
Same.
However, kids will be kids.
Kids do dumb stuff.
And, dude, I know friends of mine back in the day, they'd bust in some houses, grab some shit, and leave.
Do you know how many people I hear to this day, they're like, dude, I did so much worse shit than that when I was a kid. I was like, I know, trust me, I've been hearing it my whole life.
Oh, yeah. But one time I forget what it was, but I had some sort of fine with the city here, and I was supposed to make payments every Monday or whatever it was. Well, because of a weekend or whatever the case was, I missed the Monday payment, but I was there Tuesday, and they wouldn't take my payment. They said, you got to go back to court. I'm like, okay, so I ended up going to see the judge, and he said, well, why didn't you make your payment? And I said, well, I got paid the next day. Yeah. So I was here the next day. And he said, fucking boom, threw my ass in jail for 60 days in jail. And no one could believe it. Like, they've never seen anything like it. They ended up letting me out like 4 days later. But same thing, like, dude, that's harsh. Now, 60 days is crazy compared to 12 years. Did you shit your pants?
Literally shit my pants. I mean, my first one, I got 90 days jail for stealing a Mercedes, and I didn't know how I was going to do 90 days. I was like, 3 months in this freaking place. And when I got sentenced, I signed a plea, and I was supposed to get 4 to 6. And verbatim, we were telling my lawyer, and I remember telling him literally right before, I was like, I can't do no fucking 6 years. You just make sure I don't get the 6 years. And they tripled my sentence. And I remember the judge's words like it was yesterday. He said, I think this calls for an aggravated sentence of 12 years. And I was like, shouldn't you be pretty damn sure, more than just thinking that I should get 12 years in prison? But it came out, this is what the guy thinks. He said that once they're in their 30s, these youngsters' minds change. So that's what he did. He put me away until I was 30 years old.
Well, not only that, but dude, like, he must have had something against you.
He was just the harshest judge in Arizona's history.
What was your record?
My record, I had nothing as a juvenile, really. That was the kind of problem with me, is when you're a juvenile, you can get away with anything almost, I feel like, unless if you're not doing guns and armed robberies, like assault cases, shoplifting, all kind of just dumb stuff we do as kids, and they would just take me to my mom's. I remember one time I got caught stealing a bunch of stuff from Dillard's, and they're like calling my mom, telling her to come pick me up, and she's like, I'm not fucking picking him up. He needs to go to jail. But when you're a kid, nothing happens to you. And then I turn 18, I steal a car like it's nothing big, and then I'm like, holy shit, I go to jail. But I still don't think it's that serious. I'm like, jail sucked, but once you get through it, then I was like, whatever. And then I burglarized a house, and I'm 18 now, and they give me 12 years, and I was like, holy shit, how can I go back to that time and redo this part again? But you can't,
So you're 18 years old, and you're now sentenced to 12 years in a prison.
Yeah.
What kind of prison?
So I started out in a medium security prison. I would have been on a minimum because I didn't have any violence.
State?
Yep, state prison, Arizona Department of Corrections. I started out on which is called a 3-yard, which is medium security. That's the lowest yard you can go to if you're a lifer. And I would have been on minimum yard, but I had too much time. The trouble comes with prison politics, though, and I ended up jacking my score up. And then after that, I was pretty much in 4 and 5 yards, which is like max and super maximum security, pretty much the rest of my sentence.
Were you familiar with Arpaio?
Yes.
Chain gangs and wearing pink?
Yep.
And desert cities?
Yeah, because I was in the tents fighting this case. I was in county jail for almost 2 years, close to 2 years.
So you were in those tents?
Yeah.
How hell was that?
Horrible.
You know, but I got to tell you, and you know, again, I'm fair as they come. I like that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because, dude, it shouldn't be fucking comfortable.
I'm a firm believer of that too.
Yeah, like when I was hearing about that, people were like, well, that's rude. That's mean. I'm like, number one, stay the fuck out of there. Number two, that's what it should be like.
Yeah.
Not physically dangerous, but just very uncomfortable for people.
And you should hate every second that you're there. So
That's
that
right.
maybe when you get out and you want to go do something bad, you think, fuck, that shit sucked. I shouldn't go do that.
Yeah, that's the gist of it.
I'm a firm believer of that myself, even with my past. I believe that too. I think they should be even harder. I think they should take some of the stuff away from prison. I don't think they should have cigarettes in there. You know, you're there because you did bad shit, you know?
Now the tents are probably worse than prison when you got there, no?
They're both different in their own ways. The tents suck because, like, in the summertime, you can't sleep. Like, it is soaking wet. Like, you'll fall asleep for 2 minutes and wake up just drenched in sweat. And, like, you'll sleep in the dayroom, like, on the picnic tables, which are metal because it's too hot out there. Prison's its own thing, so you have a lot more privileges in prison. It just sucks because when you go to prison, you know you're not getting out for a while. So in the jail's not that bad because most people are going home pretty soon within a month or two or days. Prison, you're in there for the long haul for the most part. You know, like, especially the yards I was on, I would say 75% of those dudes were doing at least 20 plus years.
So as soon as you knew you were going to prison and you arrived at the first one, what was it like? Walk me through, getting checked in.
Yeah, so I remember you drive on the bus, and it's a big complex, so there's 6 or 7 yards, and I went to Tucson complex first. And I remember driving that thing, and I see the minimum yards, and it's all these dudes just playing basketball and softball, and I remember thinking, I'm like, all right, this isn't going to be that bad. You know, I can play softball, I'll figure that shit out. And they take me all the way to the back, and then you see the other ones where there's nobody on the yard, and it's like you could see the little cell windows, and that's when they tell me Meyerhoff, and I was just like, oh shit, of course I'm going to one of these yards, you know. And I remember like it was yesterday, you know, I was the popular kid. I had it all. I always say I had the world in the palm of my hands when I was a kid. And I remember that first time I walked out on that yard, and when it was like dinner time, we went to chow, and I looked around, and I was just like, I am a fucking nobody. Like, no one even knows I'm here. I've never felt so alone. Like, the exact opposite of how I felt as a child. And I remember thinking, how the hell am I going to do this for 12 years?
Were you getting punked?
Nah. They don't really do that in there too much. It's kind of more for the movies, you know. If they think you're going to be a little bitch or something, they'll have someone will try to mess with you and test you. But I used to box when I was a kid too. So they told me when I first get in there, you know why they call it a sucker punch?
Why?
Because you're the sucker if you get punched. So if you even think you're going to get into it with somebody, you take off on them. And I'm like, we can do that in prison? They're like, yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. So luckily I used to box, and in there, once you beat up a couple people, then all the OGs, you go out to chow the next day and they're like, hey, youngster, I heard what you did. Hey, youngster, I heard what you did. And I didn't look like this back then. I was 6 foot, 144 pounds, and I got locked up. And the attention from these dudes who now are dudes I looked up to, and I had to like be under them for what felt like the rest of my life, although it was only 12 years. You got to figure it out, you know?
But you did.
Yeah.
Because you eventually became a shot caller.
Yes, 23 years old is when I ran my first yard. I actually ran a 4-yard, which is like close security. It's right one step under maximum security. They say 23-hour-a-day lockdown. It's 24-hour-a-day lockdown, 4 days a week. You get wrecked Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And other than that, you stay in that damn cell.
Yeah, but when you say run the yard, like in prison, is there like, when you say shot caller, like there's responsibilities and duties.
Absolutely.
And responsibilities that if you don't do them, what happens?
Then I get got myself. Then they'll send a message to somebody else that's on the yard with me, like, yo, get a crew and get this dude. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. What
are you supposed to be doing?
You have to send money to people that are all slammed down, you know, because that's what they do. And I'll give the Arizona Department of Corrections some credit on this. You know, they slam down the big gang leaders and like the whole gang. So they sit in Supermax, which is, they mirrored Pelican Bay off our Supermax in California. So all the big leaders are slammed in SMU too, and they don't ever get out of their cell or their wing and they are never getting out of there. And it kind of works. So you have to take care of people like that, you know? So money on the yard, those are still their yards, you know? Because a lot of people,
isn't that weird though? That's still their yards.
absolutely. Just like that movie Shot Call I was telling you about, that is how it happens, man.
So why do they have so much power if everyone knows they're not getting out of there?
I'll tell you why, and this is what a lot of people don't know. Back in the day in Arizona, if you're a white boy, you couldn't go to commissary, which is where people get their food and stuff. It's called commissary. You couldn't go to the commissary store and walk back with a sack of commissary if you were a white boy. Like, the black dudes would rape us and literally jump people. Like, the craziest stuff would happen back in the day. That's where the gangs formulated, just to stand up for your own people because it wasn't safe for them. So just kind of out of respect, because we were told, like, the reason you're able to walk this yard like this and be safe is because of what they did. So you just do what they say, and that's it. And even though I was technically the dude running the yard, I wasn't the final say so, you know what I mean? And if they make a call from SMU, you're done.
So how would it go if they made a call from SMU? Someone would come say, "Hey, Peter."
I wouldn't
They
even
called
know.
you Chappy, yeah?
Yeah, they call me Chappy. I wouldn't even know, seriously. And that was the hardest thing about me when I had to, like, put working on people, and, like, people that did bad stuff in there. A lot of them were people you knew, and then you had to wait until the right timing was. So it's the craziest experience of it's just
But
almost.
what if somebody else said it came from SMU, but it didn't?
They'll get people to vouch, because usually there's enough people that are in touch with people, and it's, especially if it's a guy running a yard like that, it's a big decision. So they'll run it through a few different people, and but yeah, it's no joke, man.
So did you ever have to freaking kill anyone?
No.
Aren't you glad? Because
Yes,
you might have.
absolutely. I don't believe in weapons, you know. And even when I was getting people when I was a youngster, I always just did my hands and feet, you know.
But when you say getting people, you mean beating them up?
Yeah,
How bad?
sometimes really bad.
To where like you just keep pounding?
Yeah, that was my thing when I was a kid. I hated the world, you know. I was mad at God. I was mad at everybody. I was stuck in it for 12 years, and I took it out on that, you know. And all the kids that I did this with, the kids that went and burglarized the house first and told me about it, because I was we were a second crew to go in this house. They'd already burglarized it. And then those kids all told the cops I had did it. I didn't say anything. I thought I was a little badass tough guy. And that's why they threw the book at me and gave me so much time. So when they say, "Do you want to smash people that are snitching here?" I was like, absolutely. I'm down to do that. You know, will you guys like me if I do that? And then it turned into, like I said, when I was 23 is when I got my first yard. And before you know it, I was like, I remember looking around, I was like thinking, shit, I think I'm pretty much the top dude here right now, you know? And it's between me and one dude, and I go over to him and I'm like, "So this is my yard. You cool with that? If not, let's handle it, and I'll show you it's my yard." And that's kind of how it works, man.
So how many fights did you have to get into?
I always say, I honestly, no joke, I think I fought over 200 times probably. 200 full
Did you ever
on.
lose?
No, honestly. I've only been hit in the face twice in prison.
Well,
One I got sucker punched in the lip, and the other I got a little cut on my eye, and that was it. No joke, my entire prison career.
Well, you got lucky.
I got lucky, and you can sucker punch people. So, I mean, I used to box, so if I even think you're getting with somebody and it's as dirty as it gets in there. I mean, if I sucker punch you, you're not getting up from that. Seriously.
But it's not a sucker punch in there. It's smart.
Yeah, exactly. Saves me. Like, I mean, you could do something like that where you're walking to chow, and if there's a dude, I could literally walk by and just sucker punch him and keep walking straight to chow.
And nobody would hold you accountable for sucker punching,
No.
which is fortunate.
Yeah. Or if they wanted to hold me accountable, then it's up to them, because it's me and him, and now it's a personal issue. So I'm like, okay, if you're really that offended, let's go handle it.
Would you have to go into a bathroom or do it
Cells
anyway?
usually, yeah. Sometimes stuff happens spur of the moment. You're always told not to fight on the yards because it gets the yard locked down and the cops' attention. But I mean, stuff happens spur of the moment, so stuff like that will happen on the yard. But usually, you'll try to take it back to the cell.
Dude, 12 years is a long ass time.
Long time.
Did it seem like forever?
It literally seemed like a life sentence.
And when you went in, what year was it?
I went in 2003.
So there was were there cell phones or anything?
We had the old Nokia phones with Snake on them. No flat screen TVs, no smartphones. And I got out, and that was the craziest thing. When I got out, I walked to my brother's house, and I saw his big flat screen TV on the wall, and I almost fainted. I was like, the fucking TVs are this big out here. Everything changed.
Now, did you get paid in there? Did you have a hustle?
Yeah, you have hustles. I mean, if you're running your yard, you have to hustle.
Are you allowed to say shit now, or are all the statutes over?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Because, I mean, how do you know they're not going to put your ass back in there? How long you been out?
I've been out just over 6 years.
So is it you're off paper and everything?
Yep. Full on. I'm actually getting my rights back right now too, to be a full on citizen again.
How you doing that?
I just had to pay off the final restitution, and once you complete parole, and they give you an absolute discharge, and you can just file it with the state, and they can actually grant you your rights back. So I'll be able to vote and everything and have a gun.
You can vote anyway.
Not as a felon.
Yeah, you can.
That's news to me then.
No, you can. 100%.
Are you sure about that?
Damn sure.
I believe you.
Damn sure. You 100% can. But you can't have a gun.
Yeah.
Or even a bullet.
For sure. And I'm not a gun guy. Like, even before when I was causing trouble, I never had guns, but I just want one in the house just for protection. But that's it, you know?
Yeah. Well, 23 years old, running a yard, that's pretty heavy responsibility.
Yes.
What'd you learn there that you can apply to business?
Everything. Because people would ask, like, how'd you do cell time? I'm claustrophobic. I could never do it. And I was like, so am I. And I am claustrophobic. And like, how'd you do it then? Like, you just have to. I remember going when I got locked in cells at first, because I've been in the old school prisons, like 5x7s. You can't even do a push-up next to your bed. And they slam there, and it's just like Shawshank Redemption. Like, you hear those doors cling, and I'm like, I'd have a panic attack. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, what the fuck? How? And I'd be like, how is this my life? You know? And it didn't even make sense to me. And it kind of worked because in there, it's just people are violent and nasty, bad dudes, most of them, you know? And it was kind of a perfect combination for both. I was mad at the whole entire world. And when you get 12 years at 18, it honestly feels like a life sentence, you know?
Well, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So did you develop a mindset in there?
Yeah, I developed a mindset in there just because you have to train your mind, you know, and that's what I preach now. I had to completely rewire my brain to the prison politics in there because I'm from Ahwatukee, and a lot of people don't know this. They call it all white Tukey and that's what I got made fun of and had to fight for a lot in there. It's a nice suburb area. I was the one kid that didn't have the money for all the kids that I grew up with, though, and so I had to rewire my brain to prison politics now, and then have to get out and completely rewire my brain out here. But it teaches you drive. You know, a lot of those times I sat in those cells and I would just like think like, okay, I'm going to do this when I get out, or I have to do this, or how do I get myself through the anxiety I used to have? Because remember, I told myself at first I couldn't even sit in the cells, but if you talk yourself through it, and no joke, I would write myself notes on the walls in my cell, you know, like man the fuck up or don't break, like stuff like that. And you just coach yourself and literally talk to yourself.
You saw a lot of people in there probably with the opposite.
Exactly. People have no drive in there. And that was the craziest part about me and that's kind of how I got my passion to do what I do now, going back into the prisons and jails. When I was in there, when I finally realized I was getting out, my dreams and aspirations, and I'm no joke, the number one success story for me, if I could pull it off, was to somehow get a construction job making minimum wage probably, and somehow get sober. But I thought if I got sober, I'd have a miserable, boring ass life. And that's what I aspired to do. And I didn't even know if I was going to be able to do it. But then, and that's like what I shot for. Think of how fucked up that is as thinking. I aspired to make minimum wage, and I didn't know if I could do it. So you're like, and that's what I share about now. You're only in that box if you put yourself in that box. I'm in no damn box. Like, look where I am. I'm with you.
Well, not only that, dude. If you ask me, pretty soon you're going to be, you know, at the top of that game. Why? Because number one, you lived it. You've got the experience, and you're out there talking to people from a different perspective,
from a completely different point of view.
Because people will listen to you because you've done it.
And exactly. And that's why, like with my podcast, after I did my family, I had Sheriff Lamb on as the first guest, because I want to bridge the gap to that. You know, and a lot of people that look up to me from prison, they see me hanging out with Sheriff Lamb or something, like, holy shit. And I'm like, cops ain't bad. People ain't bad people. Like, it's just like the race thing. There's bad people in every damn race. You know, do the right thing. And I love cops. Like, cops saved my life. You know what I mean? Like, I was mad at the world for going to prison, but it was my own damn fault. Granted, I got too much time, but in the grand scheme of things, it was all a part of the plan. That's how I look at it now, you know?
Yeah. So 23, you still got fucking years to go.
Years to go.
When did you get out?
I got out when I was 30 years old. I got out a month after I turned 30 years old.
And what did you decide to do?
By
the way, when you came out, were you institutionalized?
Full on institutionalized.
But you had already decided, I'm not going to punch people in the fucking face
That's
anymore?
The only thing I made in my sign was like, no matter what, I can't get in a fight out there, and I can't do drugs. But I was going to drink because I was 30 years old. I'd never been to a bar before either. So that's kind of where some of the trouble started.
Did you have anger issues?
Very bad. I felt like
So was there anybody that got in your face, had no idea that they're about to get an ass whooping, and the only reason they didn't is because you just got out?
Yes, that happened. That happened quite a few times. And that's what's funny is like not a lot of people would mess with me unless they were like hammered blacked out, and it would seriously be the smallest dude at the bar, which is, that's one of the things I got in trouble for when I was on parole. I had a dude that was trying to like literally talking shit to me all night. And I'm not even joking. He was half my size, probably weighed 150 pounds. And I finally just grabbed his beer out of his hand. I pour it on his head. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And my little brother hits him. I get an assault because if you throw a piece of paper at somebody and they don't want the piece of paper thrown at them, it's technically assault, the police said.
Yeah.
And that's where the drinking kind of got into it. And then I was like, all right, I got to figure this stuff out. No more drinking, no anything. And last July, I celebrated 5 years sober after that.
And it's been that way ever since.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's probably the one decision that's fucking saved you.
It is 100% the number one thing that saved me.
Yeah, people don't understand how, you think, it's a fucking drink. But, dude, one drink leads to another drink, and it leads to inhibition.
One drink's not enough for me. And when I get drunk, I'm down to do anything. That's my problem.
Well, I bet you anything, if you wouldn't have made that one choice, you'd be fucking in prison right now.
I would 100%. And that's like when I interviewed my parents on my podcast, that's exactly what they told me too, And that's my conscious effort. As long as I'm stay sober and be grateful and have gratitude, I'm cool. Everything will stay smooth.
So when you went in, were you religious?
Somewhat religious. So I grew up religious. After I got 12 years in prison, if on a percentage scale, I would say it's probably 4% chance that I thought God was real. I still prayed every night just because that little 4%, I needed all the help I can get with that 12 years. Prayed every night until I was in a maximum security, and I watched my cousin got ran over by a drunk driver and killed while she was training on her Olympic bike for the Olympics that year. #1 qualifier going into the Olympics. First American athlete to win the P.F. Chang's Marathon, Duke All-American. Everybody says when people are gone that they're great human beings. Like, she was an angel, and was like almost my sister. And I got to find out watching the news in the morning, and maximum security, you get 1 10-minute phone call a week. And I didn't even get to call my family it was 3 or 4 days after that. So that was the day I gave up on God. And that was April of 2011.
But I asked you right before we started this, you found him again.
Found him 4 weeks ago.
Just 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Tell that story.
I like to give myself a lot of credit now that I've made some final changes, and when I decided to walk away from my job, and I always say I'm like a networking guru. That's all I do is try and network and meet people. When I got out of prison, my brother used to make fun of me because I'd be getting dudes' numbers at the gym, To this day, like when I went golfing at Forest Highlands 2 days ago, my brother came over, got me. He's like, "What are you doing getting dudes' phone numbers?" Because I was getting the car dudes and showing them my podcast and handing them my flyers and stuff. I like talking to people and networking. I spent 12 years in the cell not being able to talk to people. So, and that's how we had 4 or 5 different mutual friends just from me talking and networking with people, So, it's all about that to me, And
well, I don't like to call them secrets because they're just so freaking obvious. They're not secrets, but people like to call them secrets. But that's a secret I talk about. More hands you shake, more money you make.
Yes.
Most people are afraid to introduce themselves. As soon as your buddy or whoever said, "Oh, you getting dudes' numbers?" Pretty soon, I don't want to look like I'm getting dudes' numbers, But that apprehension of meeting new people costs people massive opportunity, massive amounts of money, massive amounts of deals. Because, dude, relationships are the new economy. The more people that know you and like you, the better off you are. So every opportunity someone gets, they should be introducing themselves, getting those numbers, making those connections. And they don't all pan out, but guess what? The more you have, the better you are.
And what's the worst thing that could happen if it doesn't pan out to anything?
Not
just like when I DM'd you and I asked you to golf, and I was talking to John Story, and I was just like, how do I approach him to try and see if there's a way we can get around a golf in? And I'm like, and that's why I sent you a message. I was like, here's how I live. If it's a no, it's a no, no harm, no foul. But if I don't ask you, it's a no already anyway. So why not ask and get the no?
Yeah, what did I say?
You said, why not?
But we didn't set it up.
This is another funny story.
So you should hear lesson number 2. Follow up.
Well, I'm learning, so you're going to probably teach me something here on air because I'm learning how to do this whole process, right? So I'm getting with John, and I'm like, ask him how to do it. So I ask you, and you say, why not? And I still hadn't booked with your one of your assistants yet. And then I message, and John goes, he always golfs on the weekends. So I had DM'd you, and I sent you a little paragraph saying, hey, should I book on the weekend? I have a friend that said you like to golf on the weekends, and you didn't respond to me. And I was just like, I kind of took that as a hint, like get the show booked, worry about the golf down the road, you know? So like I said, that was a learning experience for me too.
Yeah, but see, you should have followed up. We'd be golfing.
I was going to ask you afterwards about this and how to handle that next time. So I'm learning as we speak.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you'd have followed up, we would have booked it. But sometimes I'll get, and I'm not exaggerating, 250 DMs in a day.
That's why I left alone. I was like, he just gets so many DMs.
I know, but I mean, I'm talking about from random people.
Oh, for sure.
So I look, I believe it. I go through them all still. I'm still to a point where, dude, if I respond, I mean, if someone's responding in my DMs, it's me. But there's so many of them, and sometimes I don't see because it's 4 pages down. But if you would have just followed up or text and said, dude, let's do this. Cause I do like to golf. I'm just not very good at it.
For sure.
And, I don't have a lot of time to golf.
Yeah.
But I would have, cause I haven't golfed in a while. And it's like, dude, it is time to go golf. The weather's perfect too.
Dane's coming and we could golf tomorrow.
Tomorrow I'll be in Disneyland.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. My little girl got a kidney stone, bro.
Oof.
Like, have you ever had one?
No.
Me either, thank God. But I've talked to people that
heard.
have, and they say it's the worst
painful thing. Yep.
And so my little 8-year-old, I don't know how an 8-year-old would get it, but she got it. And I told her if she's brave and goes in and does what she's supposed to do, we'll go to Disneyland.
Wow, that's cool.
And as soon as she went through the shit, she said, okay, so
when are we going?
Yeah, let's go. And so
cool.
Her mom booked it. Otherwise I would. Now, when you leave town?
Probably tomorrow, maybe Saturday.
Yeah, well, you'll be back. You live in Phoenix?
Yep.
Yeah, dude, you'll be back. But follow-up is another thing most people don't do. So you're already doing one thing, right? Which is, dude, don't be ashamed or don't be afraid to fucking introduce yourself. A lot of people won't do it. They have a insecurity. I don't know what to say. What if they think I'm a dick? What if they think I'm weird? All that what if talk is what stops most people from living at all.
They're scared and they're complacent, and they're cool and like not taking chances.
Yeah,
which I'm not.
Clearly.
Like we talked about earlier, the hardest thing for me is once I figured it out and got sober and started working and making money, I went from never having a job. To this day, I've only worked one job my entire life.
That was selling cars.
Selling cars, and I've gotten finance in a year.
Oh, you were in finance too?
I had my own office a year later.
Did you do follow-up?
Yeah. And
see
yes,
how that
absolutely.
Works?
You have to there.
And by the way, most salespeople don't follow up.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've left messages with salespeople. They don't call me back. I end up buying it from someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they literally have never called me back. They've never called me back.
Yeah. And that's what prison taught me is hustle, because that's why it works so well in the car business. One thing you'll realize is people out here are just lazy and they're cool being complacent and just smoozing on by, and they did it in the dealership. And that's why once I started selling cars, and it was tough to get me in there to sell cars at a car dealership, but I had somebody vouch for me who was actually the finance director. That was one of my old co-defendants.
Do you need a license to?
Mm-mm.
See, here you need a license. You probably wouldn't have been able to get one.
Oh, really? Wow, yeah. You don't need a license.
If you're a felon. They
just put the best closers in finance there.
Well, if I tell everybody all the time, I even made my son go sell cars for a couple years.
Good training.
It's freaking
real world stuff
unbelievable
there.
boot camp.
Yep.
Thickens your skin, teaches you communication. It's all important.
Yeah.
But so you got out at 30 years old. Were you like still a thug mindset? Or did you get out going, I'm not going back?
I got out saying I'm not going back, but I knew I had to, I would constantly babysit myself, and a lot of stuff, I talk about it all the time. Like I had to ask my brother advice on every single aspect of life.
Why would he do? Why him?
I lived with him and I didn't know how to be a normal human being.
Is he older?
He's younger than me. He's 18 months younger than me. And we're as tight as it gets, like he was always down for me, would always visit, and I paroled to his house when I got out. And talk about rewiring the brain, I didn't know how to be a normal citizen. Like prison politics aren't life, someone says something rude to you or cuts you off at the gas station, like you fucking do something about it in prison, and you don't out here, and people can be rude to you.
There's people listening right now going, fuck you don't, but those are the people heading.
Those are idiots. Those are people that are never going to go anywhere in life anyways, and
they're heading.
It's just immature. It's the the funny thing is those people are all the most insecure, weak people as it is. When it really comes down to it, you know, the people that are all talking that shit and doing all that stuff, when it really comes down to it, because it happens in prison. Like, people talk that shit and you have to back it up. They're the ones that'll never back it up and never do anything, you know? And the people that are going to try and act like they're tough and start fights will call the cops. Like, it's not cool to be tough out here. You know, the world's awesome. You can have anything you want out here. I'm proof of it.
Yeah, I've been forgetting to drop bombs, but there's a bomb. It boils down to a choice. See, dude, I would consider you a lucky dude. Most people say, hey, you know, you got lucky. When in reality, if you boil down, what does that look like? You got lucky that you made a choice, the right choice, but you got more lucky that you stuck to it. Call it discipline, call it freaking willpower. But I'm telling you, dude, like, you could have, the recidivism rate, is that what it's called? Recidivism?
Yeah, recidivism, yep. I think it's like 83%
It's
in
huge.
Arizona.
Like, you get out of prison, you're probably going back. That's the odds.
I'm going to single-handedly fix that out here in Arizona. That's what I'm working with now. Like,
and people can fix it, but what they have to do is exactly what you did. But most people can't fucking get out of the stupid. Like, mindset. In other words, they get out, week later, someone says something to them. Next thing you know, why you back in, bro? Oh, this motherfucker came up and disrespected me. Dude, why is that worth your freedom?
I had us on the phone on the drive up here. I got two dudes that are like years sober, like straight God-fearing man, like awesome dudes, and they're fighting over a chick right now. And he's just like, he had said some crazy stuff to his chick. And this guy, like, he's one of 3 people ever employed. Now he's employed by the Department of Corrections, and he just got out 4 years ago. And he goes back to the same prisons and speaks and runs these classes for these dudes. And he's an awesome dude. And he's like, dude, if he fucking says one thing when I see him, and I'm like, I'm like, bro, that's prison. I'm like, what, are you going to go back to prison for that and ruin your entire life? I'm like, you touch somebody, your life's over. You ruin every single just good thing you just did for what? To prove you can beat somebody up?
Yeah.
But people seriously think like that, and it's almost sad, you know?
Well, that's what we need to fix.
Absolutely. 100%.
So how do you do that? How are you fixing people's mindset? Because it's easy to say, you're right, I'm going to go do that. And then one person pisses you off. It's fucking.
One thing I always say is, when I speak to, because I speak now at orientation, so a lot of these guys with these new, we just got some new head of parole for the entire state of Arizona, which is they're the sweetest ladies, and they're having me speak now at orientation. So right when they get out, like within their first 5 days out, it's right out the parole, they'll do these orientation classes, and I'll go out there and speak to them, and I'm just like, yo, I was on the yard, I was the man there. If any of the white boys were there, they would have been under me, and it's not cool. And you can fucking do anything you want in this life. And if you want to have the excuses that I had when I got out, like I wasn't going to be successful because I have a neck tattoo and I'm covered in prison tattoos and I have 4 felonies. And I had every excuse built in my head why I wasn't going to amount to shit. But the truth is I didn't put any work to try and do anything. I just had the excuses already. I was like, no one's going to fucking hire me. I didn't put in an application, you know? And that's everybody's problem. They don't try to do the work and they just want to complain about other people when nobody wants to put in hard work and do anything. And that's the greatest benefit about prison, I feel like, is it just teaches you hustle, and I'm not complacent. We talked about it earlier. When I got out after I started making money, I couldn't even learn from my friends anymore because my friends that all went to college and had these normal great lives are cool just making their regular money with the regular 9-to-5 job, and I'm not about that at all.
You ask them why? Do you ever say, like, dude, how are you okay with just that?
Yeah, and they would just say, like, it's their life. Like, what do you mean? That's what I went to school for. And I'm like, but I didn't even know how life was out here. And I would rack my brain on it, you know? And I'm like, how the fuck do these people do that out here? You know, like prison teaches you hustle. And so I told you, I had to learn a lot just watching stories, like your Instagram stories, Andy Frisella's. I watched you guys and studied what you did and tried to mirror it. And then when I was put in a situation, I remembered what you said. And I had to just build my life off literally watching you guys on Instagram. No joke.
Yeah, but you did it though.
That's the difference.
Well, let's say you're doing it because it ain't over.
Yeah.
Fuck, 2 years from now, dude, I could find out your dumb ass went back to prison and you'll fucking hear from me too.
Oh.
Because, dude, it boils down to this, especially if people are listening. Who cares if it's hard and blah, 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 blah. It literally is a fucking choice. You choose not to. So when someone says, dude, you're going to let that guy get away with it? What's the fucking point of showing someone I can pound your face in, and now you're sitting in prison, and that dude heals a week later, he's fucking running around living life, ending up successful, and you, my friend, are either shanked or rotting
For
in
one
prison.
dumb decision. Absolutely. And it's that easy to happen too.
But it's easier said than done, I admit. Like, especially if you have an anger problem. That's why I say, did you have one?
Have or have?
Have.
I do have
Still
one.
have?
Oh, very bad.
Dude, you better temper that shit.
And that's why I said my greatest check every day is be sober and keep my gratitude high, because the higher my gratitude level is, the better off I am, the less angry I am. And
Did you say gratitude?
Gratitude.
See, there's another one, dude.
It's the key to life right there.
Have you ever heard my $1 Million Morning thing?
No, sir.
So I trained my brain to be extremely grateful the second I open my eyes.
Yep.
Now that I'm getting older, it's easier to do because every day you live getting old, it's like, hey, that's another day.
Yeah.
But I trained my brain to literally appreciate the fact that I just got another day. And it sounds stupid and it sounds cliche. When people say, to successful people, what do you do? I just, I get in my heart and, love gratitude. And I always used to think, dude, that's freaking cheesy bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, come on. But dude, I'm telling you. So what was the big light bulb was, if I gave you $10 million cash, no strings attached, would you be enthusiastic, excited, pumped up? Everyone's like, yeah. Would you take it if I said you can't wake up in the morning anymore? People are like, well, of course not. So waking up is worth more than $10 million cash.
Wow.
But yet and we'll all agree to that when we look at it that way, but yet we don't act the same as getting handed $10 million every single morning as we would if you handed me $10 million.
Yeah.
So I just trained my brain to think like,
training your brain. That's what we talked about.
every morning I wake up is worth $1 million. I'd say $1 million. I never said 10. Now it's like,
Hundo.
It doesn't matter. You couldn't pay me to not wake up tomorrow.
For sure.
Like,
and if you have your gratitude high and you're grateful for the car you're driving and the house you have or the family you have, and that person cuts you off at the gas station, it's easy to just let that stuff go, because if you can see the bigger picture and the grand scheme of things and realize how small and minute that is to your life, that you should be grateful for, because a lot of people.
Well, who taught you that though? Because again, that, believe it or
Myself.
not, you think that's pretty much fucking common sense, but it isn't.
Yeah. Learning it myself, man. And it's like, I don't want to brag, but I feel like I literally had to do all this myself and just teach myself everything, just like I had to teach myself how to get through prison, just like we talked about training your brain. And that's what I always share about. Your mind is the most powerful thing in the world, and you can train it to do anything you want. And that's what I share about when I'm speaking at orientation. You can literally do anything you want. And I told him this last week when I spoke there. I said, if you want to be the next sheriff, I'm going to be the fucking sheriff of Pinal County. Anyone you guys in this room can be the next sheriff of Pinal County. I had no idea how to make money, and tripped on a job and started making crazy money from that, what I never expected. And then I got to a point where I wasn't happy with it, and I wanted to help people. Once I started making money, I was like, all right, I want to make 6 figures, and I want to make multiple 6 figures. And I did that, and I felt empty, because I didn't have gratitude. And then once I decided to get away from that and start like trying to go back and help people and speaking at prisons, what the speaking at prison does, because I don't even get paid for that right now. I do it out of the kindness of my heart. I do it because I want to help them. I do it because I want to help the recidivism rate. And I go back to be living proof that, and literally people say this, holy shit, if Chappy can do this, then we can do it.
Now, why do they call you Chappy?
Chapstick. I got a chapstick addiction since I was a kid. I keep it on my nightstand. I never not have chapstick with me.
What's your favorite kind?
Burt's Bees, bro.
See, now you should get sponsored.
I'm looking for it. That's what I want to have, a Burt's Bees sponsored on my podcast.
Well, you again, there you go. That's how you make money with that bitch.
Yeah.
Burt's Bees, and I'll bet you they do it. Dude, you're going to be the guy that, a lot of people, point out as, the example. Look, if that guy can do it. Well, I mean, when they say that guy, like, dude, you're a good looking dude. You're not fucking stupid. You don't have 16 missing teeth. What do you say to the people that are out there that, like, they're not fucking smart?
I'm not smart.
I know, but like,
that's what I share. I told him this when I spoke at parole last week.
have you ever been tested?
No.
How do you know you're not smart? You seem smart to me.
And I'm horrible at math, and
What's that?
I had a finance job.
You need to stop telling yourself you're not smart, first of all.
When I go back and I try to give them hope, and I told this last week, I was like, I'm not even smart.
What is smart?
Book smarts. I have street smarts. So that's what I was sharing.
Well, that's smart, motherfucker.
I'm not okay. So I say not book smarts, but I have all the street smarts, and that's enough right there. And that's even more proof when I go back there. Like, I'm not this genius entrepreneur, like tech guy. Like, That's what I'm talking about. I don't have one of those smart genius brains like that. I just have a lot of hustle, and I have a knack to figure shit out that I learned in prison. And that's more valuable than anything, if you ask me.
Well, and that, by the way, that is smart. Okay. Most people, like the other day, I dropped out of high school at 16. I told somebody, now I look back, I used to feel like, well, I wasn't really smart, but I was smart. I get straight A's if I wanted to. It was boring. It was stupid. And I realized even then, this shit ain't going anywhere. So I dropped out. Mm-hmm. Well, now looking back, I always say all these people that went on to college, got their degrees, you know, they weren't even smart enough to quit school.
Yeah.
Because people think, what do you mean? Like, nobody thinks like that. Dude, school's not teaching you jack
Nothing.
Shit that's going to apply in your life.
I mean, I did finance. You know, when people I had in there that had these huge student loans that could barely get approved for cars because they had so much student loan debt and they're making 50, 60 grand a year.
With the degrees.
With their degrees.
That's because they don't teach you the real shit.
You're right.
You learn that in life. So what did I do? At 16, I went to fucking life college. And that's why I'm ahead of most of my friends that went to college. Matter of fact, some of them work for me. And it's the craziest shit too, because, you know, it wasn't that difficult. It's not that hard. You don't have to be smart to be smart. You just have to be able to learn and realize that you can learn that smart.
You have to know that you can learn stuff too, for sure. Yeah. That's it. A lot of people are just hard-headed and stubborn. They think they can't do this because they tell themselves they can't.
Like you said, what's the worst that can happen? I always ask that question. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I quit my car business job making probably $500,000, $600,000 a year, running the dealership.
Wow, you walked away from that?
Yeah. But I mean, I was running the dealership. I was the fucking yard boss there. And it feels good being
You're the Chappy at the dealership?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good when you're the dude. Like, yeah. Nobody fucking with you and shit. Like, you get to do whatever
it's
the
ego
hell
thing.
You want.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, I was Mr. Cool, and I just had a knack training people. I could take someone out of a Burger King, make them a badass quick. So I did it for a guy who had a wife and a couple of kids, and he was a real freaking humble, nice guy. Good family, but no confidence, no, like the wife would come in and almost like not want to say anything. Hello, you know, every kid, same way. And so I said, hey, let me show you how to do this, man. Let me show you how to make some money. So I brought him out front. 3 months later, he's making 20 grand a month. And, his whole family changed, and they didn't change bad. Like we, you know, more money makes you.
I watched that story the other day. I was going to tell you about that.
Yeah, it's like, dude, it didn't change anything, but it just empowered the dude to be even a better dude. And then he was like donating money, and he didn't only had 20 grand a month, but he was like a better person. And I thought to myself, dude, I want to do that for more people. So what I did is I quit my job so I could help other people. And dude, I didn't realize that's what was going to make me rich, because the whole time until then, I was just worried about me.
Yeah, because you want to, and that's what a lot of people don't know. Like, once you start making money, you want to make six figures, and you realize, like, I want this lifestyle. And even when you make multiple six figures, it's not the lifestyle you want. You need more than that, you know. And that's why I realized I wanted to help people, and I realized I was never going to get there at the dealership, you know. But like we said, it's a great boot camp, training school. You learn the nitty gritty, you learn how to grind and hustle and deal with people. So,
but you just quit your job, said, fuck it, I'm going to go help people.
Literally with
no plan though. That's where I'm scared for you. I mean, I'm not, because I know you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I had a plan. Like, there's the difference. You said, fuck it. You don't have a plan?
No. So I'll tell you. So, well, I have it's the master plan here. I had quit, and I was going to sell my house, because I made some money in real estate too, and put that money into a treatment center. I was going to open up my own treatment center out there. Some stuff happened with the house. I didn't end up selling the house, and these people had reached out to me that have a podcast coming up in North Scottsdale with my story, and we went and met, and they loved it and wanted to do a podcast. So I'm just doing this podcast now and going back to prison. So I'm in the process of writing a book for myself, and I'm doing curriculum for prisons and jails. I'm going to go back in there and teach my own little fucking boot camp of how you can become successful when you get out. I speak to high school, so I catch them before they go to prison now, and they're all different stories I speak, but it's all different parts of my life, you know. So when I go with the high schools, it's more of, don't do the shit I did in high school, which got me sent to prison in 12 years, you know. And then when I go to prison, it's like, don't try to just be a shot caller and get into politics in here. Do anything positive, you know what I mean? Any type of programs they have. I didn't do any of that shit, but there wasn't too many programs there, so that's what I'm in the process of writing right now, working with the parole officers to do. And I'm gonna go back there and teach literally my own curriculum to these dudes on how to be successful. And then when you get out, use the resources you have. Ask people, ask questions, talk to people, learn how to be a citizen from regular citizens. Don't use your Facebook to go find your old gangbanging homies and go hang out with them again, because what the fuck do you think is going to happen? And that's a lot of times it's the hardest decision, because when you get out of prison, you want to go, I made it out. Hey, yo, what up? Come see me. And a lot of them were doing the same shit I was doing, even after 12 years, which was crazy. And I realized instantly, I was like, I am done with that. I'm distancing myself. I mean, now I work out, golf, and just try to learn stuff and meet people. And that's like literally all I do now.
Does anybody from the old days reach out to you?
People that have changed their lives too. Like, and there's a few that have.
Technically, you're not even allowed to hang out with them, are you?
I can now because I'm off. When you're on parole, you can, but if you're off parole, you can. I'll tell you a funny story. So I was the dude on the yard, and the dudes in the cages were like above me, and there was the top dude from the cage. And I go into work one day at the car dealership on a Saturday, and the receptionist's like, hey, you got a note right here. And I know the name. It's a very specific name, and it says Chappy wants to catch up. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. I'm like, they found me at my dealership, And because I saw a few dudes, and they all started getting high and going back. And I was like, I'm not messing with none of these dudes out here. And I was like, holy shit, what am I going to do? And I call him, and I was like, hey, he's like, who is this? I was like, this is Chappy. He's like, Chappy, what's going on? I was like, you fucking tell me. I'm freaked out right now. What is going on? And he happens to tell me that he has a nephew that likes to watch YouTube videos, and saw one of the YouTube videos I did about like success after prison, and just wanted to call and tell me he was proud of me. And he gave his life to God too.
Really?
Yeah.
Right on.
He did.
Because, man, that could have been a bad call.
It could have been all bad. And this is a guy that came in for a few years as a burglary or some type of theft charge. And he was doing, I think, a 3 or 4 year sentence, and ended up killing somebody in there, and he ended up serving 26 or something straight. Came in with a 3 year sentence.
So a lot of people are going to jail no matter what you say, because they're going to learn the hard way. But let's talk about people that it ain't even about jail. What have you learned to, like, because I guarantee you, like your course, for example, Inmate Welfare Fund. You ever heard of it?
No.
They're overflowing the coffers. There's money that prisons have, and they can only spend that money for inmate welfare. So, like, you could literally, especially if you got connections, if your course is good, they literally could almost pay for that for every single fucking inmate leaving any jail in the country.
That's my plan right now. And they're going to get my podcast in the prisons too, because they have iPads now. So I'm getting my podcast in there, and I'm actually going to be in with all the federal prisons too. So hopefully soon my podcast will be played with all the federal prisons, and it's like motivational shit. And my podcast isn't even for just drug addicts or just people that have been in prison. It's for the person next door that struggles mentally and thinks they're insecure and thinks they can't make a change in life. And like anybody can get something from my podcast. So
what would be the 3 things if someone's out hit the streets today? What would you tell them? What's the 3 things you would tell them if you could only tell them 3 things?
Your number one rule is keep your gratitude high, and always remember that your worst day on the streets is better than your best day in prison. And that's what I always share about. Your network. I mean, it sounds cliche, but there's a few sayings that are just the most true to me. And it's like, your network is your net worth. Like, who you surround yourself with is who you're going to be, And like, that's how we talked about how I kind of bypassed all my old friends even, like I'm not cool with that complacent shit, And third would be try to give back, because when you give back and help people, it puts you right back to the situation you were in. And then gratitude is the key in life to me with anything. And I don't want to relate all 3 of those things back to gratitude, but when you're giving back and helping people, you feel good. And then you're like, holy shit, I don't have it that bad. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing with people when they think they're trying to get sober and they have trouble getting sober. And then they hear half of my story, and I'm like, you could literally see their eyes light up. And I'm like, your situation doesn't seem that bad anymore, huh? Because you have gratitude that it's not the worst situation. And that applies to anybody.
The sober life gear that you got out there, what is that, like a reminder?
One thing about it is I want to make sober cool, because I was kind of embarrassed at first, when I'd go out, and I don't go out really, but if we'd go golfing, we'd go out afterwards, I'd be like, no, I'm sober. And it was kind of embarrassing about it. And I wanted to make it cool, and I wanted people to be proud that they're sober, and I want to, now when I go out, like all my buddies, when they're hammering, they want to have heart to hearts with me, like, dude, I want to get sober so bad. I wish I could do what you do. And I was like, well, call me tomorrow and we'll talk about it if you want. And they never call the next day,
Do you ever get aggravated with drunk people?
Very rarely, but yes.
Yeah, I can't stand being around drunks if I'm not drunk.
Yeah, but I don't hang out with drunks really, you know. So the very few random times I do, and I look and I'm like, what the fuck? How did I do that and act like that?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm sober
Uh-huh.
because I'll fucking do a shot
For
tomorrow.
sure.
You know, I'm willing. I just don't a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I think, you know, maybe I'll just stop drinking, I do kind of feel like, well, fuck, then life will be boring, or no one will want to hang out with me.
And it's not. I have the greatest life. And what you'll realize is that people look up to that shit. You know how many people want to get sober, but they don't even know where to start, and they don't have the balls to even say it until they see me sober and they see me rock. Dude, every day at the gym I get pulled over. Hey, are you like sober? I'm like, yeah, that's why it's on my shirt and my hat, you know? And then he's like, oh, I got 60 days. Or I'm like, oh, I'm struggling right now. And it's just like, I want to, not only that, to help people. It's like it's an advertisement. If you're struggling or you need help and you don't know where to go, ask the guy with the sober shirt.
Sober life.
Yeah. Sober life.
Is it just SOBR?
Yeah, SOBR.
Where's the E?
The E I got rid of, so it fits, and it's just it looks cooler and it's different, and nobody has it.
You got to come up with a reason. Where's the E? Where's the E? There's something there.
That's a good one, yeah. I told you I'm learning, bro.
Well, that E's missing, so if people are looking for it, it's SOBR.
Yeah.
And that obviously, to me, when I saw it, I'm like, sober life, obviously sober, but to me, there's a something with that E. We got to figure that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's all part of the story. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, for example, you know, I got rid of the E because the E was dragging me down.
Well, now I'm gonna know what I'm gonna be doing the rest of the day here in Vegas.
What happened to that E?
Yeah. You just ruined our conversation on the car ride home. She's gonna be trying to talk to him. Like, I'm trying to figure out this E still. Talk to me in a little bit.
Yeah, where's the E? And then, why are you so into golf? You just like it?
Networking thing. It's another thing. Like, I can't tell you the people that I've met out there on the golf courses from.
Yeah, but did you know that before you did it? Why golf to begin with? You don't see prison dudes tattooed it up, going up saying, "Hey, golf's the deal."
You don't.
Someone must have brought you the first time or something.
Yeah, my little brother, and I like sports.
Are you good?
I shoot mid-80s.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Probably 14 handicap.
I shoot
or
in
so.
the 70s.
Do you really?
Well, if it's any hotter than that, I don't play.
There you go. Good one.
Yeah. No, if I actually scored, because I don't.
Yeah.
I go out there to smoke cigars, and you know, on occasion I'll drink. But see, that's where I was going with that. Let me just, because there's people that need to hear this. So I used to get fucking drunk. Like, the only reason I was drinking was to get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't getting drunk, what the hell am I drinking for?
It's a waste.
It didn't taste very good.
That's my point. I say, why not drink a Sprite or a Shirley Temple? You can't tell me you like the taste of alcohol more than a regular drink if you're not going to get drunk. It's a waste to me.
Correct. So I drank to get drunk, and it was, you know, hey, we're drinking tonight. Oh, good. Bang, 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 bang. And I never woke up the next day in a better situation than the day before, ever.
Absolutely.
And one day I realized that. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I've never woke up richer, more friends, better condition, nothing. And I felt like hell. The older I got, the more I felt like hell. But the very last time I started drinking, we were drinking these bottles of wine. Not only was it like a $8,000 bill because it was expensive wine, but I got drunk, told my fucking couple of my good friends to fuck off, and said their girl was a fucking slut or a bitch. I don't remember, but something stupid and derogatory. Anyway, and they were my wife's fucking friends too. And so I woke up the next day and I said, babe, I'll never get drunk again. Yes, you will. No one believed I couldn't. And I've never been drunk again.
Really? Wow.
But I'll have a drink here and there.
Yeah.
But now that I'm not getting drunk, I always go, why even have
this?
one? So literally, I haven't drank like in months. And it's like, what for? But I don't want to say I'm sober.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, makes me feel like mentally I got some sort of problem.
Because it's a stigma.
Yeah.
That's what the public says.
Yeah. And so, like, if I were to go out to a bar and drink with my buddies and I wasn't drinking, I'd still get like a drink looking thing.
Yeah.
Just so people don't say, well, why aren't you drinking?
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of peer pressure?
No, not at all.
Well, that means you're hanging around with the right people.
Yeah.
See, that's a sign, folks.
Yep.
If you're out with your friends and everybody keeps bothering you that you're not drinking, questioning why you're not drinking, making fun of you because you're not drinking, dude, you're around the wrong fucking people.
Absolutely true.
People should support that 100%. There's never a time, if you're around the right people, that when you say, no, I'm not going to drink, they're like, why not? Come on, man.
Yeah. It's a funny thing now about it. Like I was at this, we were at the Kerry Lake event last Saturday, and I go up to the bartender, and we're both sober. I was like, I think a Diet Coke and a water or something. And she's like, no drink. I was like, you don't want to see me drink. Trust me. You don't got enough alcohol behind this bar for me. You know?
Are you sober? You don't drink at all? See, and not only that, you guys are going to live healthier lives. Your skin's going to stay healthier longer.
Yep. And if I'm drinking, I'm not waking up at 5:30 a.m. because until I start getting these paychecks I want, I get up at 5:30 a.m. every day, you know?
Do you set an alarm?
Yeah, and I usually, a lot of times I get up before, but I set an alarm for 5:30 every day.
Yeah, I don't set an alarm.
Yeah? What time do you wake up?
Between 4 and 5. But I just open my eyes, and again, I'm trained to where when I open my eyes, first thing I think about is, fuck yes! Good and so thoughts. Now it's like, dude, I can go to the gym, I can do this, I can do that. So I get up and I just I'm excited about the day. And that little shift in perspective changes problems to opportunities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
that's perfect for me because I'm learning, because I always try to keep my gratitude in check throughout the day, but it's not the first thing I say in the morning, you know, and tomorrow it's going to be.
Well, it should be. The first thing when you wake up, man, is just, I put a sign on my wall a long time ago that said, congratulations, you get another day, bitch. And so I'd wake up and I'd be like, you know, oh, I got a bell to bell today, son of a bitch. And then I'd look at that sign. So it took me a while, but then I'd look at that sign, and then it just makes you think. And if you do it with repetition, pretty soon you just do it.
And we're relating prison to this. Remember I told you I write myself little notes in my cell. Don't be a bitch. Don't break. It's the same shit, you know?
Yeah.
You just got to be reminded of it and just remember.
You ever heard about that guy in prison that visualized a round of golf for 12 years and got out and shot like a freaking 72 or something?
No way. No. And I've never shot a 72 either.
Visualize.
Wow.
So that's crazy shit. But you're a decent golfer if you're shooting in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how often do you golf?
Usually once or twice a week.
So you're a freaking golfer.
Mm-hmm.
So you know John Story, you said.
Yes.
You ever golf with him?
We've been out at Mesa Country Club at the same time, but in different groups. And we always see each other there because I'm at Mesa Country Club usually every Sunday and then every other Wednesday or so. And he comes out there. Now, we live 50 minutes away from each other. And like I said, I was in the car business. So the days he was golfing, I was working. So
that's over though.
Yeah. So we just talked on the way up here, and we're going to golf the next week or two.
Yeah, because he hangs out with some golfers.
Yeah.
You know, pretty good ones.
Yes,
like
for
they
sure.
Shoot well.
And he hangs out with the right people.
That's another way you can make some money.
Absolutely.
Go golfing with people that think they can golf but can't.
Yeah.
And then let them drink.
The guy I was just playing Forest Hounds with the other day, he used to caddy for Wayne Gretzky and Bob Parsons actually too.
So the podcast is called Roll Call with Chappy.
Yep.
It's already in the top of the charts. Who are you interviewing?
So the first guest I interviewed, my mom, my dad, and my stepmom. Gave a whole rundown of my life story. It's an hour and a half long, but it is life-changing. I'm not even joking. I have not had one person get through without crying. I have had people that can't even finish the entire thing. It's the most honest shit. And if you ask me, it's never been done before. I asked my family straight to their faces, you know, and I told them, tell me the brutal truth. I want to save lives here. I don't give a shit about hurting my feelings, you know, and how they all told me they didn't think I was going to amount to shit, and they thought there was no way I was going to do what I did. And then when I finally became successful, they're like, fucking, you can't quit that. But I did, you know, and if you bet on yourself and you train your mind enough to do anything, it sounds cliche, but literally any fucking thing in this world is possible, you know, and it seriously is. As cliche as that sounds, you can fucking do anything.
I mean, again, I could argue with you, but I think your spirit's in the right place. Like, for example, I don't think you can fucking fly. I don't think you're going to go play quarterback for fucking New England Patriots. Even if no.
Why?
I don't think you can.
Good.
Because there's certain shit just not fucking possible.
For sure.
But I don't like the reason I wasn't going to say anything was because that'll give someone the excuse to but the point is true. You can fucking do anything. You just can't like fly.
Yeah.
You can't like, you know, jump off a 100-story building and land on your feet softly.
Yeah.
So like there's things you can't do, but we're not talking about the fucking stupid shit. We're talking about you put your mind to something. Oh, it is totally possible. You really can not go back to prison. You really can make 8, 9, 10 figures. You really can invent the next fucking social media app. I was talking to a guy yesterday on this podcast, dude. His name's Cheyenne. You ever heard of him?
No, I saw it just on your story yesterday.
Fucking crazy, that dude. He invented the herbal ecstasy. made zillions of dollars. He was 15 years old.
No
I said,
way.
what do you mean? He goes, well, I was at the dance clubs and the electronic music and everyone was on ecstasy. And then there was a shortage. And I thought, well, I didn't want to be a criminal because he already figured out that road and he didn't like it. And he said, well, I need to make a legal ecstasy. So I'm just going to start figuring out what will make you feel like ecstasy with legal ingredients. Now, who the fuck would have thought that's even possible?
Yeah.
But he did, dude. And it worked. And it sold zillions and zillions. And then gets out of that. And then guess what he invents? Vaping.
No way.
Everybody fucking vapes now that smokes.
Yeah.
So vaping's huge. He invented that. Like fucking dude, this is just a normal dude.
Yeah.
So it is possible, and I don't want people thinking me saying you can't fly is a knock against you can do anything, because you can, just not fly.
You can do anything with that if you have gravity.
And supposedly, I'll bet you there's someone out there that would argue that you could fly.
Yeah,
you just got to figure it out.
You're right.
Because again, according to the Bible, and I know that you said you found God now. According to the Bible, you could move a mountain if you had the faith.
Yep. And let me tell you right there, and I would say people that could take that is just like how much you have to train your mind, because there's going to be a guy that's going to say, I can fucking fly and try and prove you wrong. And there's going to be the other guys that are going to take the negative shit out of it and be like, well, you can't fucking walk on water. And what do you think that dude's doing with his life? And what do you think the other guy's doing with his life?
And I take it back, because I know you can fly, just not for very long.
See, there you go. There's always an ankle to it, bro.
Yeah, because me and you could just leap forward.
Yeah.
And technically we're flying for a second.
Technically fly to that lake out that you got out there after your office window, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to land, but I'm flying to it.
How do we prolong the flight?
Yeah.
So dude, the podcast, people can find that where?
Apple, Spotify, Google, it's on everything. And that's on YouTube also, Roll Call with Chappy. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't finish that. So I did my brother for the second episode, because I couldn't, all the politics stuff, I couldn't tell my parents that. Every time they'd come to visit or it was a phone call, yep, everything's all good, I'm doing okay. Don't worry about shit. My brother would come up and visit and be like, dude, what's going on? You know, and he shares about it now. There was people that would come out, and after I started running yards, I didn't even tell him. He knew, because when he'd be going out to visit, there's dudes that are like saving his seat from him and just like buying him drinks and stuff. And they're like kissing my little brother's ass, you know? And one day he's like, who the fuck are you in here? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm serious. Be real with me. What are you doing in here? And I was like, don't ask. But, you know, I told him I was getting involved in all the politics. So I had him on there next. And then my first guest that airs next Thursday is Sheriff Lamb. And just like we did, I met him last year. I finally started becoming like pretty successful and wanted to start giving back. And for Christmas, I was like, I'd been working 4 years, and I already have everything I want for the most part, you know, that I could get making that kind of money. And I did for Christmas. I just sponsored a single mother with 4 kids last year through Sheriff Lamb's charity. And it was one of the coolest experiences in my life, man. Just got to go take her kids shopping for an entire day, and whatever they got, I paid for it. And that's what I did for Christmas last year. And me and Sheriff Lamb stayed in touch, and that's what I'm doing as a curriculum, to go back in there, like the thing you were talking about, to his jails. And I had him as my first guest on there to try and bridge the gap and show inmates that cops aren't bad and they're cool and they can be your friends out here, and you can even learn something from them, you know? And when you take off the badge, just like the skin, there's bad people in every race and every job. And the stereotypes is what's going to get you sent back to prison or kill you out here, you know?
How does the bomb squad help you?
What do you mean?
Well, the bomb squad is the listeners, and there's a bunch of them, and they're kind of like me, where they definitely like helping if they can. So buying a shirt might help you, you know.
Buying a shirt might help me. The biggest thing is the app right now, because that's what I've just got trending, top 100 trending on for self-improvement on Apple. So reviews on Apple, subscribe to my YouTube, just leave.
What's your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel is the same thing, Roll Call with Chappy. Roll Call is 2 words.
You own rollcallwithchappy.com?
No.
Why?
Because you haven't told me to yet.
It's probably available.
Yeah, for sure it is. Better get on do that real quick before this airs.
Yeah, well, you better go get it for someone cyber squats. You just go to GoDaddy.com.
Text my lawyer right now, please.
So they can buy your shirts, subscribe to your podcast, give you some reviews so you cruise up the rankings.
Yeah, and just pass the message along. You know, there's a lot of people. I was out at dinner last night. Everybody's got a family member that's struggling. You know, everybody knows somebody that deals with addiction, whether it's you yourself or your family. You know, I was with some big time successful people last night, you know, and they want to tell them on the download. They're dealing with the same thing with their son, you know, and
it's rampant, dude.
It's crazy.
And what's funny is a lot of people are just too scared to raise their hand and get the help, and then next thing you know, they're in prison. And
that's
they
why
don't
I got the
get
sober
out.
life. People are scared to do it. And I want to represent and make sober life cool. Like, and that's why everyone's like, they ask me how I did this or what I'm doing. I'm like, it's all because I'm fucking sober. You know, seriously. If I wasn't sober, I wouldn't have anything.
Well, I think there's some truth to that, because folks, I'm telling you, man, alcohol. I think alcohol, like weed, not so much.
I'm firmly believe the same.
Fuck, dude. That will get you in a world.
It's
of
shocking
shit.
that alcohol is legal and weed's not. Well, I guess it is now, but I'm with you. Alcohol is 10 times worse for me than that.
And if you're already, unstable and you add alcohol to the mix, you're more than likely done.
Absolutely.
So I would start with being sober.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
You can always circle back maybe someday and have a drink.
That's
again.
what they say. The alcohol ain't going nowhere. If you don't like it, you can always have your misery back. That's the saying.
But I want to boil down to, dude, you made a choice and you've stuck with it. That's the bottom line. Because again, there's people out there that they want to give the reasons why they're, in trouble, whatever the case may be. And it boils down to, they made the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
Life's a amalgamation of choices.
Yeah.
So if you see someone sitting in prison, they probably made the wrong choices. You see someone get out of prison and make it, they probably made the right choices.
Absolutely right.
So it boils down to choices.
Yep.
And you've been making good ones. Now, last question I have for you is, where are you going now? Because you got out of prison. You freaking fortunately found cars. Even funny because you were stealing them, which got you in there.
Yeah.
No, burglary got you in there.
Both. Burglary and that stolen Mercedes.
But then you decided to sell them. You got good at selling them, I assume. You made some dough selling them.
Yeah.
How'd you know to put that dough away? You said you also made money in real estate. How'd you know to do that?
I had all the kind of toys I had, and I didn't. And I remember one thing that was tough. It was impossible for me to find a place to rent, and I had, when I was making,
Because you were a felon?
Yeah, I was offering and my charges were like, at that time, 15 years old, almost 14 years old. And I was trying to tell them, I'll pay 6 months. I'll pay the entire rent up front. Just let me stay here. And they couldn't. So I was like, I'm fucking saving up and I'm going to just buy a house. I don't want to, and it didn't make sense to me to just throw money away in the trash can anyways, So I wanted to, and that's what I did. I put everything into it and bought a house and made some money on that one, and then bought a big ass house. I ended up buying a 3,500 square foot house. It's like $1 million house now. That had just me in it and didn't even use the other side of the house before. And, but that's the one I made a lot of money on now too, and everyone told me I was stupid for buying that big house then too. But I ask people's opinion, but at the end of it, I make my own decisions. And if I listen to what everyone told me to do, I wouldn't have anything I have right now.
Yeah. So when you got out, you made money in the car business, and then you decided to just quit. And this has been how recent?
July.
So like you're fresh out.
Seriously, fresh out.
Fresh out again.
Fresh out again.
You're still on parole, entrepreneurial parole.
Entrepreneurial parole. You're absolutely right.
Well, in this case, it's probation.
Yes, you're exactly right.
Because, dude, there is no guarantees except one. Dude, you can do anything you fucking want to do.
You're right.
So, like,
even fly.
When you focus on helping other people, dude, that's what you focus on. Don't worry about yourself. I guarantee you the money will come.
That's what I say.
If you're doing the actual help. Oh, it will.
That's verbatim what I say when I go out there. And that's what I told those guys when I spoke at Pro last week. I said, right, I haven't made $1 in over 4 months right now. And last Wednesday, I spoke at 5 events on a Wednesday. Put almost 300 miles on my truck on a Wednesday. Ask her, she has not been happy because some days I'm not home all day. And I say, I'm here just to help you guys. And as long as I keep helping you guys and passing the message along, my money's coming. I know it is.
If somebody wants you to speak, what do you say? Here's what I charge.
I'm just now getting into that too, because I honestly just started speaking, but when I've been speaking, I've been getting some kind of crazy reviews. So I've been getting hit up all the time. And that's what I'm in the process of doing, is trying to negotiate that as the right aspect, because I still want to help people, but I got bills,
Oh,
got a mortgage, a big truck payment.
They're not stopping either.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of what I'm getting into right now.
And just remember, dude, you don't have to not do anything to stay true to your cause.
Absolutely.
You can do both.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes, when the bills start coming due, and
so that's my plan, is to do I'm going to do all the sober stuff just on GP. That's just to help those people. But then the curriculum and stuff is like that. That's what I'm going to get paid from.
Yeah. Not only that, these guys, the Bomb Squad's going to go follow your podcast. They're going to buy some shirts, so that'll give you a little freaking distance.
Bam. There we go. Thank you, guys.
And then if you guys, go subscribe to his podcast and it gets way up there, dude, you can make a shit ton off that.
Yeah, I plan on it. And like I said, God's writing my paychecks right now. I'm not worried about it. As long as I keep helping people, it's all coming to me. Amen. You know what's crazy is I have literally a big mortgage, big truck payment. I have not made $1 in 4 or 5 months, and I was going to sell my house and live off that money. And I'm not 1% where it is. This is all the plan, and I know exactly this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm not even 1% worried about it. Like you asked me, and I was like kind of shocked that you said that. I'm like, no, I'm not worried at all. I'm not. I'm betting on myself, and I know I can do it.
Good, man. That's strong.
That's what anybody should do.
But don't sell your house. Get the equity out.
That's what yep.
Yeah. Then just take a little loan ski.
Yeah.
But here's a little trick for you. You take a loan out on the house, then you buy Bitcoin. Then you take a loan out on the Bitcoin. So you still got the money, but now you own Bitcoin. And that Bitcoin will go up. The question is how long will it take?
Yeah. I made some money in crypto too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Any Shiba Inu?
Yes. I was just looking at it along the way. I've probably been going cycling. I forgot I had it. I was buying when I was at the dealership because when you're in the car biz, money's not even like it gives you almost a fake sense of reality with money, right? In the car business. Yeah.
Well, because you can make it.
Yeah, I mean, you'll spend $50 at lunch. You don't even care about money. Like, come detail my car. Here's $100 or whatever. And I was buying Shiba Inu. I got really lucky. And I got in the dog coin right when it was like 0.003 or something. And I was like, I'll throw a couple $100 at it, or a couple grand. So I threw $2,500 at it, and that turned in like 30 grand in a few months. And I was like, what the hell is this? And so I was buying that Shiba Inu just because I saw Matt Morgan, all those guys post about the Shiba Inu and Elon Musk. And I was buying, every time I'd click on the app, I'd buy 9 million shares and it'd be like 60 or 70 bucks. I ended up putting $477 in it. I have 92 million shares. Right now it's at like 9 grand or something. But I forgot about it.
Dude, we should call you Midas. Change your name from Chappy to Midas.
You can call me whatever you want.
Dudes, appreciate you sharing this out. Remember, if you didn't necessarily get anything out of it, someone might just be quiet about it, and they need this fucking episode. Absolutely. So share it out. Go rate the podcast. Make sure you go follow my man Peter. Go get a shirt and support him as best you can. I appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you having me.
And I'm going to have you back in about 6 months. Let's see how the story goes.
Yeah, I love it.
And until next time, kids, keep it real.
Thank you.
Dropping bombs with the real Bradley. Subscribe now.